Language is my playground, and neurodivergence is my lens. I am Hiba Bayat, the neurodivergent linguist, coach, and supervisor. Around here, we explore words, worlds, and wiring with curiosity, compassion, and the occasional tangent. Because growth is messy, meaning is layered, and shift really does happen. So many neurodivergent adults grow up believing things like, "This is just who I am. I'll never change. It's too late for me." And honestly, after years of masking, burnout, overwhelm, criticism, or feeling misunderstood, those beliefs can begin to feel very real, especially for people who discover their neurodivergence later in life. Because sometimes a diagnosis doesn't just bring answers. Sometimes it also brings grief. Grief for the years spent blaming yourself. Grief for the years spent trying harder instead of understanding why things felt harder in the first place. Grief for the opportunities, support, or self-understanding that you may have not had access to. But neuroscience paints a much more hopeful and compassionate picture. The brain isn't fixed. It's constantly responding to experience, environment, stress, learning, repetition, relationships, and support. And today I want to explore two neuroscience concepts that help explain this: neuroplasticity and neurogenesis. Now don't worry, I'm going to keep this simple and accessible. Neuroplasticity refers to the brain's ability to adapt and reorganize itself. Or in everyday language, the brain's ability to rewire. Every time we learn something new, practice a skill, repeat a behavior, or experience something emotionally meaningful, connections in the brain can strengthen or change. Think of it a little like building roads. The more a road is used, the stronger and more established it becomes. The brain works in a similar way. Pathways that are used repeatedly tend to become stronger and more efficient over time. And this matters far beyond studying or education. It matters for emotional regulation, habits, confidence, coping strategies, recovery, self-understanding. And I think this is especially important for neurodivergent people. Many ADHD, autistic, and ODHD individuals spend years adapting to environments that were never really designed with their nervous system in mind. Many people develop survival strategies without even realizing it. Things like masking, perfectionism, people-pleasing, overcompensating, avoidance, hypervigilance. And many of these patterns can become deeply established neural pathways. Not because someone is broken, and not because they have failed, but because the brain adapts to repeated experiences and environments. And this is where I think the conversation becomes really important. Because brains do not change through shame. They change through support, through repetition, through emotional safety, through understanding, through opportunities to learn differently. And sometimes neuroplasticity isn't about becoming more productive. Sometimes it's about learning safety, learning self-compassion, learning rest, and learning that you no longer have to live permanently in survival mode. And then we have neurogenesis. This is slightly different. Neurogenesis refers to the creation of new neurons or new brain cells. For many years, scientists believed adult humans could not grow new brain cells at all. But later research showed that neurogenesis can still occur in certain areas of the brain, particularly within the hippocampus, This is an area involved in learning and memory. Now, this doesn't mean that the brain magically regenerates overnight. And I think it's important not to turn neuroscience into unrealistic self-help. But it does remind us of something incredibly important. The brain remains adaptable throughout life. And honestly, I think that message can feel emotional for many people, especially those who discover their neurodivergence later in life. Because one of the most common questions I hear is, have I missed my chance? And neuroscience suggests that no, the story doesn't end there. Support still matters. Environment still matters. Learning still matters. Self-understanding still matters. And change doesn't have to mean becoming a completely different person. Sometimes growth simply means understanding yourself better, reducing shame, building systems that support your brain, learning your limits, understanding your needs, and working with your brain instead of constantly fighting against it. And perhaps finally recognizing that struggling in unsupported environments was never the same thing as being incapable. I think that distinction matters deeply, because there's a huge difference between I can't and I was never given the right support, understanding, or environment. The brain responds to context. Not that we can become anyone or anything overnight, not that neurodivergence disappears, and not that every challenge can be solved through mindset alone, but that human beings remain adaptive, living, changing, responsive, even later in life. And perhaps growth isn't about becoming someone different. Perhaps it's about becoming more fully yourself. The brain that carried you this far is still learning, still adapting, still responding. And perhaps that is one of the most hopeful things neuroscience can teach us. Thank you for listening. You have been listening to The Neurodivergent Linguist, where words, worlds, and wiring meet. I am Hiba Bayat, the neurodivergent linguist, coach, and supervisor. I hope this episode left you a little more curious, a little more kind to your brain, and a lot more you. Until next time, keep noticing, keep learning, and remember, shift really does happen.